So in this video, we are going to discuss how to apply facial hair for theater. So we are going to work specifically with ventilated pieces of facial hair. So that just means that it is hair that has been knotted or ventilated onto wig lace. So I'll show you a couple different kinds. I'm going to apply a mustache on myself. And then we'll kind of talk through like skin prep and application and then how to remove and clean it as well. So most facial hair pieces you have are probably going to be like somewhere in this world. So this is a mustache that I made for a specific person for a specific show about 6 years ago. So you can see it is a little bit like frayed at this point. It did go through like a 2-week run of a show. It went to like my portfolio review with me. It's been to job interviews. It's traveled from St. Louis to Chicago. Like it's been through a lot. So this thing is sort of like wearing down, and I've been using it in classes and stuff. But 6 years, I still had it, and this could definitely be used for a show. It does not fit my face that great, so we're not going to use it for today, but it's just kind of one example of like how facial hair can look when it is handmade. A lot of times it's going to be a lot thinner than what I think a lot of us would think of, because you see a lot of pre-made facial hair and it's very, very thick, but actually a lot of people's facial hair is not really that thick, and even if it is, when we hand make it, it looks a little bit better when it's a little bit thinner, just because when it hits the skin, it just looks like a little bit more natural that way usually. So a lot of times with facial hair, less is more. This one is also a complete piece. I did not have to split this one, but a lot of times I do that for actors. I'll just cut it, not in thirds like that shows, I'll cut it like in half. And that just gives you like a little bit better of like a range of motion. So today we're actually going to apply another one that I made. This one is a lot better fit for my face because I think I used my own face as the tracing for it. It's going to do a cute little like orange like handlebar that is actually like black light glow in the dark too, because that's the type of person I am. Why not? But the first thing you would want to do before you worry about like applying everything is you'd want to make sure that your skin is prepped properly. So ideally, if someone was gonna put on facial hair, I would prefer they not have a ton of makeup under it, and if they do, it needs to be powdered. I have a ton of makeup on, so it is heavily powdered. It probably would not want to adhere the best for like the entire day, but I'm just going to put it on and then take it right off, so I'm not that worried about it. But my very first step, if I was going to be doing any kind of facial hair, I would want to like wipe down that area, especially for mustaches. Like for sideburns and stuff, I don't think I do this as much, but really like around the mouth, especially mustache, even over like goatee and stuff, I like to wipe the area down with either like a little bit of like alcohol or witch hazel or like any kind of skin toner, just because you really need to pull any like excess oil off of somebody's skin, just so that it adheres better, because anything that's just like a little bit too oily is going to make it really hard for the facial hair to stick onto the person's face. So that's step one. Then you want to have somebody like moisturize. I wouldn't do anything super oily, but I do like to do like a little bit of moisturizer still. If they don't moisturize, maybe see how their skin takes it, but it might be good if they start moisturizing for a show, if they have to constantly take things on and off. And then you would want to put some kind of like a barrier cream on, most likely, especially if this is somebody that has to like take this facial hair on and off frequently within a show, or really if they're doing the show like multiple times a day or like multiple times a week. The more you can do to protect their skin, the better off everyone's going to be, because if their skin gets too irritated, they could almost get to a point where they could barely even adhere it anymore, and that gets really tricky if you get to that point, so you really don't want to let it get to that point. So again, like I talked about in the other video, that could be like Marley Skin, Top Guard, Skin Saver Lotion. There's a bunch of different options out there, but I cannot, I feel like ever say this enough. Always check the ingredients, always make sure someone's not allergic to it, and always follow the directions. It is better to just like take the time to like swatch a little bit on somebody's wrist or like behind their ear, wherever, see how their skin reacts to it, than to put it all over them and have their entire face blow up like right before you have to go on stage or something. So that is like imperative, that you're always testing for allergies. If somebody's like, I don't know, I think I used it, like honestly I would just test anyway, because it's better to take the 30 seconds and test it than to just have them like be out for a show because their skin is that inflamed or something. And then you also, again, you just want to make sure you're following directions. Not everything is going to be applied the same way, so you might have to like cut it with something so it's not as strong, or like you have to apply it with like this type of brush, or like there's things that have to go through an airbrush. Like you really need to pay attention to the products that you're buying and make sure that they're going to work for the situation that you're in, and the applications that you need to do. So once you get that on, you also want to let that kind of like soak in for a second, because if the skin is too slippery, you're not going to be able to adhere anything to it. So any kind of primer, whether it's like beauty primer, whatever, or like facial hair primer in this instance, you want to make sure that it sets into the skin, just so that way it is not going to make the skin any more slippery, just because that's not really going to help you in this situation. It's just going to hurt you, and it's supposed to be there to kind of like be extra assurance and be more helpful. So let it do its thing, let it soak in. If you are going to be using an adhesive and not Topstick, so Topstick or toupee tape, usually you're going to see, it's kind of hard to see, you're going to see something like this. So this is like the actual Topstick brand, but basically this is just like a double-sided tape that you can use for toupees and facial hair. Like I discussed in the other videos, this is great for like quick changes, or I've had people who wanted to use it for entire shows because they really hated spirit gum. It took me a lot of time to like meticulously place it because it was for like sideburns, like full facial hair, but it worked. It held on. I never got any complaints about it. It looks fine in the production photos. So if you take the time to place it nicely on the facial hair and on the lace, and again, don't put it on the skin, put it on the lace. This is the one thing that can go on lace. I think it looks fine and it's not going to be too shiny, but you can get it in matte versions if you are worried about that, and you can definitely cut it down to fit like the curves of the facial hair into small spaces, but that is definitely one option. Otherwise, you're probably going to be working with some kind of adhesive. A lot of times that's spirit gum. If someone is allergic to spirit gum or they're a really, really heavy sweater, you might move up to like a silicone adhesive. Krylon makes them. Telesis is another really popular one. Pros-Aide, I have some people that will only use Pros-Aide for it. Just make sure you know how each one of those works, and you have the appropriate removers for them as well, because a lot of times people just try to rip things off their face and then they wonder why their face hurts. You need to use the remover. Even if you sweat something off, like I don't care if you like hand me the mustache at the end of it, please like always go back over it with remover when you get a chance, just because you don't know what is going to be left on your skin. And I've had people's skin blister from leaving spirit gum on it just once and not cleaning it enough. So please, it's another thing where like maybe it takes you 30 seconds. It is worth it. Because you don't want to destroy your skin, because it's an important part of being able to play your character, to be able to put all this stuff on, so you need to make sure that you are taking every precaution that you can. So make sure whatever your adhesive is, that you also have your remover. And again, I know I talked about this before, but do not use, so this is water-soluble spirit gum, do not use this to apply facial hair for stage. I refer to it as baby spirit gum for a reason. It's good to like learn with and practice, and to like glue down things that aren't heavy, or if you're like gluing down your eyebrows or something, because that you can wash out of hair really easily, but it is not strong enough for stage, for like holding on like prosthetics or like facial hair or anything. And if you start sweating because it's water soluble, it's gone. So please do not use that if that is all you have. Just know you might have to touch it up a lot, so I would always have it with you just to make sure that you can touch up on somebody. I'm just going to use today just like regular spirit gum. So this is like Krylon spirit gum. I prefer, if I'm doing theater, I either like to use the Krylon, or if I can't get Krylon, I use Ben Nye. Those two are some of my favorites. There's tons of other ones, but those are some of the readily available ones. I definitely prefer those. I do think like the Krylon one is a little stronger than Ben Nye. But Ben Nye is still a good one too. If you still want to use spirit gum, but you feel like it's not strong enough, if you get Mastix P, that is like one of the strongest spirit gums that is out there. This is really popular with a lot of the drag queens at the Krylon store I work at, to glue down lace front wigs. So this could be great for wigs, but you could also use it for facial hair too if you really need a strong hold, because it is really, really strong. So the first thing you want to do, skin prep. Then you want to make sure you have on any barrier creams, and then you would be ready to apply it, right? So first thing we want to do is make sure, I know I just held it up to my face, but like obviously you should fit it before right now, but like make sure, and I do have to get close. Okay, so you want to like center it, and then you want to make sure like, okay, like this is what I want. For some reason, this orange mustache, this is what I want. Perfect, so it fits, we're great. So, number one mistakes that I see people doing, putting the spirit gum directly on the lace. Please don't do that. Spirit gum goes on your face. It should never go on lace. It should never go on prosthetics. Spirit gum is always meant to go on the skin. It's just going to get really messy if you get it all over the lace. Some people think if they put it on the lace or the prosthetic and their skin, it makes it adhere better. It doesn't. It just gets stuck to itself a lot of the times. It gets stuck to you, and it makes it really hard to clean. So please always just put this on your face. Another mistake I see, everybody using the same bottle. This is from my kit. This is not my personal spirit gum. I'm not gluing things to my face every single day, so I'm going to pour some of this into just like a disposable cup, and I'm going to use a disposable applicator to put it on. It is far better to do things like that, or to buy like a big thing of it and split it up between people, than to have 6 people using the exact same spirit gum. Because if you think like, this touches my face, it goes back in there, like sure, there's a lot of alcohol in this, maybe it's sanitizing it. I don't know all the science behind it or whatever, but I just think it is far better to just let everybody use their own thing. And I think that is a huge mistake that we make in theater all the time, is that people are just like sharing adhesives and not even thinking about it. So please, what I usually do, I buy like really cheap, like $1 brushes, and just let people destroy those for a show. Everybody gets their own little container of spirit gum. there we go. There's no problems. Throw the brushes out when you're done, and everything stays sanitary, which is how life should be. So we're going to go ahead and just pour some of this out. You always want to make sure too that your spirit gums are not spirit gummed shut, and if that does ever happen, you have to like put it in a little like container of alcohol, and that will help you kind of like loosen it up, and then you'll be able to open it. Other times though, if you just like shove your nail under it like I'm doing right now, it will help you open up your spirit gums that may have closed themselves. I'm sure I can eventually maybe get this open. So we'll work on opening the spirit gum, and then we'll be right back.